Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of this show that I don't really know what it doesn't have a name yet. I'm thinking of something I like the name like Chasing Dragons, right? Like the idea of like a bunch of knights going and chasing down like the biggest dragon that they can try to fight and battle and conquer, right? And how do we go and chase down the big dragon? So I think I kind of like the name Chasing Dragons, but let me know if you don't like that name, whatever. Guys, on this show, I talk to people who are trying to do like things that I believe are their personal legends, right? Like they're trying to either build a business and a company, right? Maybe an entrepreneurial project, or they're trying to build a career in entertainment or do these like really difficult things, right? Sometimes it's like professional, sometimes it's personal, right? They're chasing down these dragons. I love these people and I love to talk to them because I am one of those people and I've tried to do a bunch of stuff that has blown up in my face. And if you don't believe me, go watch some of my other content because it fucking blew up hard, right? So anyway, I'm obsessed with these people, finding them and trying to help them towards their stuff, right? And then yeah, and so that's what this show is about. It's about trying to understand as much about their journey as humanly possible and then helping them and working with them to understand some of their potentially limiting beliefs, and then with their consent, potentially warp and change some of those limiting beliefs in a way that's going to unlock their careers and progress towards these things. Sorry if that was long-winded, but Matthew, somebody told me I needed an intro. Is that a decent intro, Matthew? And then we're going
That
to
will work for me.
beautiful,
I
cool.
was enjoying listening to it.
Fantastic. Today I am speaking with Matthew Jordan. Matthew is I'm sorry, is your last name cool?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm speaking to Matthew Jordan. Matthew is a comedian and a up and coming stand-up comedian. He has recently had his first Kill Tony set, and he has a lot of improv experience. And yeah, Matthew, introduce yourself. What do you want people to know about you and your comedy pursuits here?
Hello, my name is Matthew Jordan. I'm out here just trying to make it big, not make it big, just trying to make a name for myself, see where I can go, just make a dent in there. And I've come to realize that I'm putting one step forward, and I'm just going to rock it right through this, no matter what. I'm opening the hood of comedy and looking in there and saying, "Ooh, what's in there?" And I'm going to play around.
Hell yeah. I love that. I love that. So cool. So basically, this conversation is going to have a couple parts, right? The first part is going to be understanding your journey and where you're at and some of your thoughts around that. The next part is going to be trying to identify, by the way, these are all going to overlap and like fucking like it's a gangbang of different things. So like you need to know that. But trying to identify any limiting beliefs that might be holding you back from making real progress on these things and then trying to slightly reframe them with you a little bit. And then at the end, after it, hopefully you feel like I fully understand you, your journey, and where you're going, right? At that point, I would love to give you just like a machine gun of as much tactical advice as I can possibly give you. But I don't want to start with that because like people don't like that. They're just gonna turn off. They're gonna be like, no, I know better than you, fucker. So the advice comes at the end, okay?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great. Okay. Matthew, tell me about your journey. I want to understand why you've done comedy and your journey into comedy. So please share with us as much as you can about that.
Just how I discovered it or how I got into it. Is that what you
Both.
kind of look
Tell me
for?
your story. Tell me your story with comedy, your relationship with comedy.
Comedy with story, it just kind of grew up with my dad, and he was just one of those dads that just made you laugh without even thinking about it. And I think it stuck into me my entire life. And I never really knew about it or anything. It was just part of me until I ended up in Alaska. And I thought, I'm going to try to get into theater for no reason whatsoever. I went down to the local theater. I was like, let me try this out. Went down there, and it was pretty neat. And they sent me over to because Anchorage is not very big, so they sent me over to this to train with the theater teacher over. He had his own company, so we'd go over there and try out. And it was actually neat. But then one guy was leaving. He goes, "Would you guys be able to rent this room out for improv?" And at that moment, I was like, "I'm in." And I said that, and we did like we didn't know what we were doing. We were just like seven guys, and I think seven people. We were just up there just running around acting like fools, just trying to figure it out. And I think it was more short improv. And then I ended up moving back to Houston, and I had the bug. I needed to figure out what's going on. And I was in a meetup group that just started about improv, and we were at a local restaurant, and I still didn't know what I was doing. I thought knew everything. I was like, this is fun, until they said, let's go downtown to Station Theater, downtown Houston. And I walked into that place, and it was a Friday night, and it's like you could get on stage and do improv on Friday nights for free. And at that moment, I was just like, what is this? I was just like, I was hooked. And I went full steam, just dived right into it, and I started taking classes right away. And it was just, I learned so much because it's like when you go, a car person, when you have a car person, they want to go in there and check the hood, check the engine, check. That's what I did. When I heard comedy, I flipped the hood. I said, I want to see what's in the kitchen. I want to see what's over here. And just next thing you know, I'm learning about forms and all this stuff. And it's like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I just haven't looked back since.
Wonderful. Let me summarize some of the things that you've told me just to make sure that you know that I'm listening to you and I want to fully understand your journey, okay? Comedy started in your life as a connection with your father, right? Your father
Yep.
was a, can you tell me a little bit about him? Like why, how did he use comedy and what did he use it for and who were some of his influences?
I think he didn't really have a lot of influence. He would just blurt something out, and just we're all just like, whoa. And it was just that whole shock. And he would just say something like funny out of the blue that we didn't even expect it. Or it's not funny. It was just an odd thing to say at that moment. It's just like, ah. And he just kept us on our toes all the time. And I think it's what I did growing up. I'm able to keep people on their toes, and myself too. So,
Sure. This is
but
Matthew, this is a random piece of advice, but like it seems like there were probably influences on your father, right? And I think it might be a meaningful activity for you to try to like see if you can list out what those influences might be, right? Like what were his favorite movies? Who were his heroes, right? Who were his favorite comedians? That sort of thing, right? That might be something that like if you can better understand, you know, your idol that you idolized when you were a child and what made his comedy great, right? That might give you some guidance on like this is what I admire about good comedy.
yeah,
That's just
actually, I think he didn't, because he was always, because we lived in Minneapolis and he worked in Cincinnati, so he'd be gone for a couple of weeks. Oh, sorry, he'd be gone for a couple of weeks and come back. So I did look up to him, but I didn't really connect a lot with him because of that. So I was always trying to absorb as much as I can, I think, when I was little. But I also grew up, because my mom's from London. So I grew up with British comedy, with very dry British humor, which I take pride in. And it's like what I enjoy hearing, where it's just two things kind of munched together, and it's just like, that doesn't make sense, but it's funny. It's extremely funny, and I fell in love with that kind of comedy, and it's what sticks with me. Where it's almost not too shocking, but almost doesn't make sense, but it does when it's out there, and when it's done good. That's the catch.
sure, sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. The reason why I wanted to start here is just because like I think that like when we're children, a lot of our I've started to think of like brains as just like this thing that like takes in stimuli and then like reacts, right? And so
Yep.
and that usually that imprinting happens when we're children, right? So like so the better you can understand your childhood and the role that comedy played in your childhood, the more you can understand those things, I think the more it will make you feel confident, right? Because like I think that people get into comedy, some people, and this is not a judgment on you. This is
Oh
more
yeah.
of this is a more of a revelation of me, right? Is like the reason I got into comedy was two things. I loved comedy first off, right? I loved
Yep.
just like making people laugh and I was kind of decent at it and I loved that. But I was also afraid. I was deeply afraid that like the negative people in my life who said all of these mean and horrible things about me, I was afraid that they were correct, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, and so I that put me out onto the stage, right? Because it's like, okay, hold on. I need to figure out if those people were right or if I think I'm right, right?
Oh yeah.
And do the people in the crowd appreciate the ideas in my mind, right? I'm looking for a validation, right? Which is bad. That's like, okay, it's not bad. It's just is what it is, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's like because if you go and you only seek validation in your comedy, right, a little bit of that is probably okay and reasonable and but like if you're only doing that, then that makes you prone to burnout. It makes you prone to quitting, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
if you can understand why you're doing that, right? And be real with yourself, like, man, you know what? Fuck, I do need some validation. I need some validation because I'm a person who needs love and validation. Like,
Hmm.
um, if you can better understand that and maybe get that validation not from the crowd but from other people in other areas in your life, it's going to make you a fucking incredible stand-up. So that's just some
Oh yeah.
stuff at the beginning. Sorry, I
Oh
again.
no, 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 no. That's I completely understand, and I get that because I notice the difference between doing stuff like online, like TikTok, and then doing something on stage. It's like I'm very critical of myself, where it's like I see it and I watch it. My Kill Tony is it is painful for me to watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute for Matthew Jordan.
How you doing? Welcome, welcome. So I've been going to the gym lately, dropped 40 pounds already. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Got addicted to Zumba all the time. Going in there, first time ever in there, they looked at me like this gringo's gonna be out after 3 songs. But I'm there, I just want to taste, just want a little bit of taste of that. You just can't stop with that. So going to by the 3rd song, oh, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I don't know if I'm having a heart attack or no. I'm going into Zumba, going. Pooh. But then the 4th song, wait to the 4th song, because if you do make it past the 3rd song, the 4th song, you just start feeling the music. The music starts going, you don't even know what you're doing anymore. You're moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You're clapping, you're in a rush to get to the front of the stage because you want your spot. Because once you get to that spot, you're up there and you're dancing. Next thing you know, you get a target on your back. That's Betty back there. She's coming up. She wants that spot. No shit, I was here an hour early putting my water bottle down in that spot right there. It's mine. Who knows about all that? You fight for your spot in Zoom, but I'm telling you one thing.
Holy fucking shit. There's a little joke book. Make some noise for Matthew Jordan, ladies and gentlemen. Your 10th bucket pull.
It is extremely painful. And I knew what I was getting into. I've never done stand-up before, but yet I rushed out there. And there is a something that had a connection, that I had an aha moment afterwards where it reminded me of my son, of the way he was. And that's what I did. And I basically was him because he lived in the moment and that was him. And he's one of my inspirations why I do comedy. But for him, it was like he was participating, and that's all that mattered. Because there was a game when he was little. It's called green light, red light, and everybody knows it. When somebody says green light, you all start running. When they say red light, everybody stops. He didn't get that. He was like, they went green light, everybody run. He'd giggle because everybody's running, so he'd run. And when they said red light, everybody would stop, but he would still go and realize till everybody stopped. Then he would stop. They would do that until they got all the way back, and he was the last one to touch the wall. And as soon as he touched the wall, he turned around and went, I win. And everybody looked at him and he just walked around, I win. He just won because he participated. And that's all he cared. It was no competition. And so when I was up on Kill Tony, I realized afterwards, I wasn't there. That was me. I was participating. It was just, I became him. It was in the moment. It didn't really matter what happened or where I went. It was like, I'm doing this. And this is extremely incredible.
That is a beautiful story, and I love it so much. And thank you so much for sharing it with me. Like, Matthew, I don't want to put pressure on you to talk about personal things if you don't want to do that. But at the same time, like you've told me a little bit about, we can cut this all out, by the way. I'm happy to
Oh,
do
yeah.
that. You've told me a little bit about, the story of you and your son and things. Is there any information that you'd be willing to share about that? Because I think that story is very touching and beautiful, but also like deeply tragic. And I don't know, it makes me want to give you a big hug. So I don't know. Are you open to?
It's my life story. I live by the fact if I don't talk about him, he never existed. So the more I talk about him, he existed because I'm now an outlet because I live with his memory. And that's what drives me. That's what makes me. But I'm still human and I still have anxiety. I still have to be brave and step forward. But it's like with everybody, you need like something that just kind of gives you that little push and you lean on. And sometimes you fail, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you chicken out and sometimes you don't. And yeah, the one week I chickened out, then the next week I went and I made the stage. And it's just
Hell
like,
yeah.
that was just, I have to look at that. It was like him just going, this is the moment. And he nudged me and said, you won. And no matter what, I did win.
Beautiful. So do me a favor, Matthew, and tell me the story of your son. Can you tell me this story briefly? And
Oh yeah. I have 2 sons. One's 21 The other one, he was 10 years old. He was 2007, and so it was about 2017. He passed away from brain cancer. We were living in Anchorage, and that was one of the reasons I got into comedy too. Actually doing it because he was going to be a song and dance man, and I can't sing or dance, but I can make people laugh. And so that was my journey to honor him, to where he was such a spunky kid that I had to keep going. And I realized that I always wanted to be like him. And after Kill Tony, I realized he's exactly like me. We were exactly alike. And so we were both the youngest, and both have older brothers, and so on and so on. But it was a free spirit, and I realized I am a free spirit, and I was just kind of hiding it and holding back and not living at my full potential and living in what I'm supposed to do with my life. And I'm slowly peeling that away, and it's interesting.
Yeah, dude, that isn't it fucking liberating? It's like, oh, there's like I get 80 years to be alive and I can do whatever the fuck I want with them, and then I'm
Yep.
dead forever. So let's get weird with it and fucking be cool. Like I love that so much, Matthew. Can I go on a little bit of a rant about some of that stuff really quick?
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Beautiful. So here's one of my guiding philosophies about this, Matthew, is that like the way to improve at comedy is to do a disproportionate amount of work, right? It's
Yes.
like people think it's about talent, right? Because like, but talent and validation go hand in hand, right? Because like, you know, a lot of people seek the stage out of validation, right? Of like, I want the room to tell me that I'm good at something, right?
Yeah.
And so, but like once you identify that and you kind of move past that a little bit, then improving at comedy, all it is just work, right? It's like
Oh yeah.
if you can invest 100 hours into improving at comedy, which by the way, it seems like you already have, right? But you've just invested it in doing improv, right?
Yep.
And studying improv. If you can invest that same 100 hours into stand-up comedy without getting stopped by the validation seeking shit, right? And you just try to invest that 100 hours, that is going to, without a doubt, make you better at
Oh
comedy,
yeah.
in my opinion, right? Now, that's hard, right? Because like when you change your thinking to just, okay, now I need to just invest the maximum amount of hours into stand-up and improving at stand-up as I can, then it becomes a different equation, right? Because a bad equation is like there's a few ways you could do it. You could say, I'm going to quit my job and just focus on stand-up comedy, which in the short term would probably increase your inputs into getting
Yep.
better at stand-up comedy. It would increase them a lot, but that's only sustainable for like a month, and then everybody runs out of money and they get depressed because they don't have a job and they're fucked, right?
Yep.
So
Because they will hit the wall. Yeah, they will hit a
yeah.
wall, and you got to get back up. And if you don't have something to hold you back up, you're like, then you start panicking, and then you start spiraling.
Yes. So instead, if you take a long-term view of like, okay, in 10 years, I would like to have invested 10,000 hours into stand-up comedy. How can I make a sustainable system? How can I make my life a sustainable system to do that
Yep.
with, right? Like, yeah. Then the other question is, where do I spend those 10,000 hours over that 10 years, right? I have some philosophies in this, right? I think that a lot of stand-up comedians are like, well, you fucking go invest it on the stage, and there's only the stage, and if you like, you should do nothing but just fucking get stage time. And look, if it works for them, that's fucking great.
Oh
It
yeah.
didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. So here's where I invest that hours, okay? And by the way, Matthew, I also want to clarify something. I will someday release a stand-up special. I will someday be a stand-up comedian. I love it so much. But so far, stand-up comedy has beat my ass, Matthew.
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
very good.
I looked in the dragon's breath, and I came out laughing, going, "Wow, that was incredible."
I am not very good at stand-up comedy, okay? And so you need to know that before you just blindly take my advice, okay? But see what feels true and valuable, and then reject the shit that doesn't make any sense.
Oh
Okay?
yeah.
So where do you invest those 10,000 hours? I believe there's a few different ways. One, you can study people that you admire, and you can get very, very specific about how they tactically do the things that they're doing, right? I sent
Yep.
you I sent you a series of like a breakdown of notes about one of my favorite stand-up comedians and analyzing a play-by-play of quite literally everything he's doing, from the clothes he's wearing to his joke delivery to his topic selection to the wording of his words to like how he's presenting, right?
Oh yeah.
Like a manic crazy person take notes on all of that, right? Because those people are the goats, and you
Oh
can
yeah.
learn from them. So do that, and it will change your brain in ways that you can't yet perceive. The next thing I would invest your 100 hours in is stage time, right? Just getting up on stage and trying comedy, but that's not the only thing, right? The third thing is writing jokes, okay?
Yep.
Can I tell you a brief story about some of my comedy experience?
Go
This
ahead.
this is also about you. So we're gonna shift after I talk for a little bit into learning more about your journey. But basically, I had a background in improv, right? I did improv, and I was really good at it. I did like probably 5 or 6 years of improv before I ever did stand-up comedy. And so I get to my first open mic. It's in Rochester, New York. I'm actually wearing my a cappella group's t-shirt, right? Because when I was in that a cappella group, I felt this sense of pride and confidence, right? That I needed to bring onto that stage, right? So I'm wearing, this t-shirt that has this identity into it. And I get up on that stage, Matthew, and I've got the mic in my hand, and I'm like confident as fuck. And then I start I start speaking to this room full of people, and I'm like, fuck me, I don't have any jokes. Like, I don't have any jokes, man. And so I'm there, I'm in the lair slaying the dragon, and yet I forgot my sword, like that
Yep.
sucks. And so I bombed, Matthew. I bombed really, really bad. Okay. So basically, the next thing that I think you spend your time on is writing, right? Because stand-up is very different than improv.
Oh yeah, big time.
Improv's about reacting, right? And stand-up is I'm the show, baby, right? And so you got to learn how to write a show, right?
Oh yeah.
Even if it's a minute or 5 minutes, right? So getting as much information about that as possible is very beneficial. I think you should take classes. Again, certain stand-up comics are like, never take a class, do it by yourself, and those people also, like, they don't drive cars, they ride their like bicycle that they handcrafted, because a car is cheating, right? So
Oh yeah.
my opinion, Matthew, is buy somebody else's car and see if you like to drive it. Do you know the comic Anthony Jeselnik?
No.
Anthony Jeselnik is a fantastic comedian. He writes jokes that are very, very tight. His entire comedy formula is based on a joke writing system that you can buy on Udemy for $15. And by the way, you should, because that is the best joke writing class I've ever taken in my life. Now, if you only do that, that's bad. But basically, Anthony Jeselnik has become a multi-millionaire just from using that. So cool.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a pin in my shit for now and focus on listening more to you.
Geez, about time.
um, cool. Let's go into some questions for you. Why do you do comedy? I think we've gotten that. Um, cool. How do you feel about where you're at in your comedy journey right now? And can you tell me, how you view it?
Well, right now, because it's a battle between paying rent and comedy. It's like finding the time, and it's right now. That's my biggest battle, is finding the time to mentally sit down and do everything and work. And there is time, but my biggest thing is writing. Script and writing is my weakness, because that's why I'm so good at improv, because even at work, it's just like, don't tell me what's going on. I'm gonna go out and figure out what's going on, and I'm gonna feel it, and just I'm gonna go with the punches. And so going script wise is hard for me, because it's like it's been doing the same joke, refining the same joke and joke and joke. I don't know why, when I get like, when I focus on something, I will start to like stop losing focus really quickly, because I'm like, okay, I'm tired of doing this, even though I should be doing it over and over and over again, the same joke, but I will pull away, and I got to do something new, because that's really bothering me. And so then I got to go, but maybe if I'm put something out there, okay, that means I'm done with that one, work on your next one. Now we got to get on. Now you got roughly 5 minutes. Go find a 5 minute stage and go from there. Try those out, because those are not going to work, but they might work. But it's your delivery now. So you got to, there's the actual joke, and you can get a bad joke, but if you deliver it amazing, it's one of the funniest jokes you've ever seen in your life. And there's a lot of components to stand up that people just don't even think about. And being an improv kind of and watching and talking, because even sitting in the waiting room talking to stand-ups and then talking to improvers, you can tell the difference between an improver and a stand-up, because stand-ups, they're going for the punchline like mad dogs. And while I'm over there trying to build the world and the scene and the funny's going to happen, but they do work hand in hand. When you do work with somebody that can go with the punches really quick, it helps. But it is an interesting mindset that I have to almost slow down on the outside, but speed up on the inside. And because improv is the complete opposite. And you have to speed up on the outside and slow down on the inside. And I think so they're backwards. And that's an interesting thing that I need to learn. And so, because I'm very active on the outside and not on the inside.
Okay, Matthew, you've just said a bunch of fascinating things, and I know that I know that I talk so much, but I hope, but I want you to feel like I understand you. So I want to pare it back. I want to talk about.
And I know that too, because I'm a very everything comes out. I'm everywhere. I'm very unorganized, and it shows.
No, you're great. You're wonderful. Let me break down some of the things that you said here, and I want to make sure I fully understand them. You said that you struggle with writing a little bit, right? Refining the same joke over and over again. Basically, as soon as you tell one joke, you kind of have this motivation to move on to the next thing. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah.
Got it. I will pull away and I've got to do something new. If I put something out there, I'm done with that one. I move on to the next one. When I focus on something, I'll stop losing focus quickly. So basically, you struggle to focus in on one and hone one idea. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I may over focus, but then that's when I start losing interest. Like, it's like, okay, I'm too focused on that. And then I'll overjudge it. But the thing is, then I'll drop it. But I know this is now for stand-up is I have to now, instead of dropping it, okay, just kind of ignore this now. Have this here because you're building something. That's first brick right there. You get the next brick, and go from there. And it's something new for me. So those are the things I got to remember, where normally I'll just drop. Like when you play video games, you beat it, it's like, okay, and you never play it again. Just like, okay, I created this joke. It's funny to me. I haven't practiced it. Oh, I'm done with it. But now I have to remember it's here. Now I got to transition from that. Even though I get 5 jokes, for example, I got to transition to them together. I got to tie them together. There's such an art to it that if you don't think about it, you just rush in and you think it's like, bop, 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 I'm out of here. No, there's so many levels to it, just like improv. And it fascinates me. And I think that's why I went my path, because I don't want to mess around. I want to learn from people that have been doing it. I'm not going to go to local mics and like, oh, I've been here, like this is my first or second one. I don't want to do that. I want to mingle with the ones that have been doing it for 10 years, so I can get those little nuggets and pointers and going, okay, that's what I didn't realize that I would have never learned scraping it at the bottom.
That's wonderful. So, let's hone in on this I think that if you can increase your knowledge level about writing, and you can master some tactical habits around writing jokes and about refining your work, right? I think that if you were able to do that, that would probably be your biggest roadblock right now. And if you were able to shift that stuff, then it would unlock this for you like crazy. Okay. So I want to speak to that a little bit from my experience, right? I struggle with the same thing, right? I love improv and I've gotten very good at improv and I love it so much. And the freedom of it is wonderful, and the reactivity of it is wonderful. You kind of get the validation without having to like do all of this like isolated like manic work where like you're like a fucking psycho, right? And then like showing off your creation, right? Instead, it's just like, watch me create. Like, it's wonderful. But that said, if like I personally believe that stand-up is a better avenue to building a career in comedy.
Oh, yes. It sells better. Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to make this transition to how can I hone in and hustle my ass on my alone time without that seek for validation, right? And so what I think that is I think that the way that I've dealt with that problem in my life is this show is a manifestation of that, right? It's like you need to understand yourself at a level that is a little bit weird, right? Like
Oh yeah.
you need to know the stories that are so important to you that like if you spend a disproportionate amount of time communicating about those stories, right, you will believe that there is value to it outside of comedy, right?
Oh yeah.
Does
Mhm.
that make sense? So
Yep.
so in your Kill Tony set, which by the way, we will, if it's cool with you, I'd like to play your Kill Tony set
Oof.
in this interview. But in your Kill Tony set, you talk about your experiences with Zumba, right?
Yeah.
Which I love, dude. Like I don't know. No offense, Matthew, but you seems like you're an older gentleman,
Well,
right?
yeah, that was the whole joke because a guy my size, because if I would have got it, it was a decent joke because it was basically about how it became a drug for me and how it like after the third song it goes flowing through you. Um, it's just one thing. It was just my size because if you ask 100, if I hit that joke without being really fast, if you ask 100 people, would you have liked to see him do his Zumba class or actually do Zumba? I bet you 110 people would have said, hell yeah. That was the whole thing. It's just, you kind of was like, if I would have hit it, it would have been leaving them more. I was just like, they would have I want to see more of that. But my delivery was off. My timing was off.
Which is
And
fine. Which is
oh, because it
fine,
was my
dude.
first time, yeah. But that joke will come back because
Yes, it
that's
will.
now one of my jokes that I can refine and make it perfect. And I will go back on there in this main stage, and I will do that same joke and say, and there it goes. That's the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but there was supposed to be something that I was going to throw together and say in Spanish that had nothing to do with Zumba, but it would have been funny at the time because I'm just this big, huge guy just actually dancing to Zumba and having a blast. And like I always said, I do Zumba because in my older age, I don't want to get out of bed and slip on like a chapstick tube and break my hip. I want to be able to do a somersault backwards flip off the bed, land on the floor, Olympic style, dismount perfectly, just go down to the kitchen to grab those taquitos that I just put in my new air fryer that I just bought. So that's why I do Zumba, to make myself stronger. But it's now an addiction of mine because of the music, because of the camaraderie in the class. And so that's why it's just part of me. And it's just when people see that, they're just like, oh my God, look at this guy. And he's passionate about Zumba. And I was
I
just
love
like,
that.
because
Matthew,
it's fun.
can I share some ideas about this really quick?
Yep.
Beautiful. So it seems like this is a very important story to your life. And can I make some guesses about why Zumba might be an important story to your life?
Yeah.
Is that okay? So when I was in Atlanta, I got very into working out and it fundamentally transformed how I thought about myself, right? Because instead I went from this like fat, schlubby, lazy guy to this guy who like could do some seriously intense shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I watched my body transform into like that of a fucking warrior. And it was like, oh my God, I didn't know I was a warrior. I thought I was a fat slob. Like I'm fucking
Yep.
badass, right? So like fitness can fucking transform your self-perception, right? And that happened to me. And it probably, I'm assuming in some way you found that happen to you in Zumba a little bit. Is
Yeah.
that true? Or something
Well,
similar?
it's happened twice for me because I took Zumba. I've been doing Zumba for like 5 years. And my original Zumba class over in Houston, that was one of the oncoming jokes when I walked in the door. They were like, this gringo's not going to last 3 songs. And next thing you know, I was there for like 3 to 4 years.
Nice.
And and we made a camaraderie. I mean, we'd go out for lunch or something like that. And we'd all like hang out and talk and everything. It just became like a community.
Nice.
And it was just fun. And we
So,
just
so
had a
my
lot of fun.
so my advice, Matthew, and I hope it's okay if I share advice at this point because I want you to feel understood before I give advice. But my advice is to any comedian, but to especially those that are struggling with writing, is find the stories that are so important to you that like if you got them fucking rock solid, right? Rock solid with punchlines, man. Fucking nailing punchlines one after the other, right? If you can get those rock solid, it would be more than just like, oh, I made the people on the stage laugh. It's like, no, 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 no. I understand myself, right?
Yes,
That
yes.
is what I am doing, is I am understanding myself and making peace with my perspective on these things, right? Like hone in on those things. Zumba might be one. I know that this is deeply personal and maybe not something that you want to talk about on stage, but like the sense of camaraderie with your son and that story
Oh
around,
yeah.
right? That might be another one, right? This story about making a leap in Alaska, right? Why you originally did, comedy, right? Living in Alaska. Because by the way, you've told me some stories too about living in Alaska and how that was, and how it's kind of this isolating, like fucking like, I don't know, it's beautiful but isolating. Is that fair too?
Well, yeah, but that was my life. I went to 3 different high schools. I've moved around so much that I've traveled, but that's my life. My dad's from Minnesota, my mom's from London, and they met in Las Vegas. Two of my brothers are from Los Angeles. I'm from Minnesota. I mean, my family was nomads, and I've been everywhere, and now I'm in Austin, doing comedy, which I never thought it would happen, but here I am. I didn't come to Austin for comedy. It I just happened to be here, and it was here at the same time. And I just happened to go. I was dabbling in it, and now I'm going full steam into it, and it's just
Yes.
like, wow.
Fuck yeah. No, yeah, dude, go balls deep in the Austin comedy scene, bro.
I
It's
I've
fucking fun.
I've made waves. I made sudden waves
That's
last
pretty
couple,
sick.
because they did not want me there. They did not. They were not happy that I was there.
So Matthew, one last thing on this, right? So like I think that there's two, this is my advice is two parts, right? It's first find those stories that are so important to you that you're going to work on them for things other than just validation from the crowd. You're going to work on them to better yourself and
Oh yeah.
better your understanding of yourself, right? And then I think what a decent activity might be would be to adopt the writing lens of one of your favorite comedians, right? I don't know who you look up to. I look up to like Carlin, right? I kind of like Jerry Seinfeld a little bit, but I also think he's
Uh,
kind of a pretentious fucking douche sometimes. So whatever. But like,
but then I mean, a lot of times mine is kind of the off to the side. I mean, just kind of like Larry David, and like I was talking
yes,
to somebody about like what was Andy Kaufman, just like
yes,
just kind of jokes where I know they're funny, but you
yeah,
feel the jokes. You don't hear the jokes. You feel the jokes. You see the jokes. Because I feel it's like I always hear you keep saying a lot about validation. Like a lot of times I'm not challenging validations. I'm the validation I'm actually chasing. It's just my own. Like, holy shit, you are better than that. You can't look what you did. You did that. You did that. And it's more than just uh to use that in your everyday life, because my everyday life is I want to get to the point where that's just paying my rent until if I can make something big of this, I can. If not, if I can help others learn and get to where they want to be, just watch what I can do, or watch what I do wrong, or watch what I do good and learn from
yeah.
me. And
Look at me
because
go. Look at
I
me
don't
go,
care.
fuckers. Like, yes, judge me all you want. Here we go. Like,
I
yeah.
know. I got a you suck joke book from Tony, Kill Tony, but I got one. And I didn't mean to, I wasn't going down there to be like, I'm going to be on show. I'm going to be on show. I wanted to go down there and feel what it felt like these stand-up comedians doing. I wanted to feel their bravery, their fear, their courage. And I was not talking to a lot of people. I was absorbing the room, and it was going from all different sides. And then all of a sudden I hear Matthew Jordan. And I went, they called me. So I was just like, okie dokie, I'm gonna
Oh.
go. But the funny thing is, now that we got offered, I'm gonna be like on a 9:30 improv show.
Nice.
I'm more excited about that than I was about Kill Tony. Kill Tony, when I walked on that stage, that was like walking through a regular door. But for improv, it's on a smaller stage, smaller thing. Walking through that door still gets me excited, because it's so weird that I see. So that's one thing I have to push myself with stand up, because it doesn't excite me as much as improv, but I got to do it, and I got to learn it, because it's going to make my improv stronger too. And it's just like snowboarding, skiing. You're going to get the hill down the hill. It's just how you get that down the hill. And the more you learn from each one of them, you become stronger and stronger, and you get funnier and funnier.
So
And
Matthew,
it's
can I jump in for a second? You mentioned, when we were talking about key comedy influences, there were two people that you specifically mentioned resonating with really, really hard. It's Larry David and Andy Kaufman. Is that correct?
Yep. Well, actually, there's also like Eddie Izzard and who else? There's a couple other ones just
His
floating
name's
around.
Eddie Izzard.
Yes, Eddie Izzard. He's a British comedian, and he tells a lot like history. He tells like ramparts about history. He almost does long form improv on stage, and it's very long. It's very in depth, but he always did the one that's about cake or death. That was his biggest moment. Everybody knows from him, but
I I've seen this person before on panel shows, and he's really
yes,
funny. He's extremely funny.
and it's just I like jokes
I
that
don't know.
make you think.
Uh-huh.
Just like, wow, it's just you feel the joke, you see the joke. That's the same thing with Monty Python. You feel the joke, you understand it, and you see it. And I just don't want to sit there and go bop 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 bop, because I have to go, "Rah!" I want to show that I'm living this joke. This is me. I want to give it all on stage and go, that was fun, I enjoyed that.
Sure.
And there's other
Matthew,
comedians, like Douglas Adams kind of style, like kind of like crazy, just absurd, but don't go absurd, but be grounded.
hold on, let me I know Douglas Adams, I think. Nope, I'm less familiar with his stuff, I think.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes, okay. I have tried to read that book so many times, and I have
Just
not been able to.
watch the movie. You'll
I
get the
have
gist
tried.
of it.
I have tried. It's so surreal, and I'm like, oh my God, I know I should love this, but like when the dolphins start to speak, I'm like, oh fuck, like this is dumb. Like, which is
And that's what I grew up with, was like, wow, okay, I get it. And that's what's funny to me. But you don't see it a lot. So it's kind of like new to everybody, but it's not new to me. And
yeah.
that's kind of like, but that's my style, and I can't change my style for anybody.
No,
I have to keep my style. Yeah.
Don't. But so
Oh,
my
yeah.
point is, Matthew, is that like I think that we do comedy for different reasons, right? Like
Yep.
and there are things about comedy that you seem to love that I think are valued in your heroes. And the things that I love about comedy are very different, right? Like I love Carlin. I love
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I love an angry old man whose like primary objective is like getting the room to essentially agree with him, right? By using like as many fucking outlandish, like heightened examples as possible.
Yep.
And he practiced oration so much that he's fucking compelling beyond belief, right? And it's like,
Yep.
and it's like listening to your old crazy. I had a grandfather, my grandpa Norm was like this like driven crazy man that was like, this is how this is, and fuck everybody else. And it's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
so
it was just, what's his name? Lewis Black? I think that was.
yes,
I mean,
I love
saw.
Lewis. Yes,
I saw him live, and it's pretty. It was towards the end of his tours, but he's still intense. It's just like, wow.
There's this one. My favorite Carlin joke is he's opening. I think he's opening fucking Madison Square Garden, and he's like. He goes, have you ever noticed, and this is the first line, okay, this is the first line of his whole thing. He goes, have you ever noticed about how the people who are protesting outside of abortion rallies, those are people you would never want to fuck in the first place, right? And bro, he fucking leads with that, right?
Yeah, yeah, because it's an extreme, but it's slightly funny, but could that be in trouble? And it's like, ooh. But somebody like Carlin can pull that off. Somebody that's like John Smith can be like, whoa, where did that one come from?
I don't fuck that. You don't need permission. You don't need permission to be, you don't need to. The reason why Carlin can pull that off is not because he's George Carlin.
Oh,
He's George Carlin because he knew he could pull that off, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that is what propelled him to be who he is. His ability to share exactly and precisely what he thinks without fucking stopping to consider like, oh, is this okay? It's like, no. Yep. Fuck you, like that's Carlin. That's what I love about comedy. Okay, it seems like what you love about comedy though is a little bit different. It's more about this like surrealism, right? This more like performance art of like Andy Kaufman is a very specific thing, right? Like here I come to say the day,
yes.
like that's like I am going to do this like performative almost, like this very strange thing, and it's going to catch you off guard, right? That's very different. Yeah. That's very different.
And I want to show, and it's just instead of just telling the jokes and stuff like, I mean, I don't want to compare myself, but I mean, I like the whole, like Jim Carrey, like active, just boom, just the very Robin Williams, the Chris Farley, just a very active, but they're more skit comedy. So I want to get more into pulling that skit comedy into more of like a stand-up, but kind of mesh each other, and which many of comedians have done it. And it's offhand, I just can't think of a lot of them that do that, but I just
Oh,
want
dude,
that energy.
you've named like 8 wonderful influencers. That's amazing. So Matthew, my advice is as you invest this 100 hours, right? As you invest your time, study these people like a
Yep.
fucking psychopath, right? Like take extensive notes, and by the way, don't just watch their work, watch behind the scenes interviews with them. How did they shape their minds and their lives in order to produce the work that they produced? Right? If
Yep.
you can understand those things, you can then rip those things out and put them into your life, right?
Yep.
Yeah. There's also
Because that's one of my biggest thing is coming up with the jokes. I feel more that I can come up with the jokes a lot better if they resonate with me. Part of me, they were something I experienced rather than coming up with jokes from like outside, because that's where the improv comes into. It's what's happening here, what's happening now, what's happening with me, not by Joe Schmo that's over here. We're talking about the neighbors, because that's not in the scene. Because improv, you want to be in. So I don't know if I should stick with that or try to do that, but I want something that resonates with me, because then I can actually feel myself do it. It's mine, it's me, and I can put myself 100% behind it. And I think that's why I see certain comedians where it's like they write the jokes just because it's in the news now, it's brand new, and they don't have a connection to it. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's their style. That's just not my style. I mean, there's so many styles of comedy and
eventually,
stand-up.
Matthew, that will be your style, right? Because once you refine your creative lens of like, this is precisely and exactly who the fuck I am and how I see everything, right? Then you'll know how to respond to news headlines, right? Because like,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
what people don't understand is that comedy and online performance is about like understanding this character that like you're building, right? There is a very fine line. This is okay. People are gonna if people take this out of context, like I'm sure like it could be misinterpreted that like whatever. But like I think that I think identity is crafted collectively, right? So like the things that you tell jokes about, the things that you talk about on stage, right? Like they influence who you believe you are, but it also influences who the audience thinks you are, right? So you change as you create more content, right?
Yep.
The content that the jokes that you tell changes you as a person, right?
Yep.
And so I
Even the
think that,
jokes you come up with, they'll change as you're practicing them too. So a joke that you started like 3 months ago could be completely rewritten, but have like the very basics of it. But you could look back on it, and that's what I want to do is compare. Like, this is what it looked like in the beginning, and this is what it likes now. So
exactly.
it's like
And
my
then
biggest thing.
as
Yep.
you do that over time, and as you develop that lens, right? That's what's gonna make you $1 million. Which, by the way, I know like people are like, "Oh, I don't want to make $1 million," and it's
No,
like, well, "Fuck you, make your $1 million,"
I want to
right?
make
Like,
2 million.
yeah, make 10, dude. Fucking make it big. Like, fucking dream, bro. It's
Yep.
okay. Like, if you don't make it, you don't make it. But you know what? You could just roll over and fucking enter. Like, fucking like that sucks. So
Go
might as
to
well
9 to 5
try.
job.
Yeah. So cool. But
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
So
either
as
in
you,
the you're either in the audience or on stage. That's life. You're on stage or you're in the audience. Pick
yeah,
where you want to go. I don't
yeah,
want to be in the audience anymore. I want to be on the
wonderful.
stage.
So my point is that like over time, your creative lens, as you work on this craft, right, you will begin to understand and shape a character, right?
Yeah.
And you have the power to shape who that character is, right? And it should feel authentic to you. It's an act of self-expression. It's an act of, I'm going to talk about Zumba until I understand what the fuck I find interesting about Zumba. Is it the fact that I'm an older gentleman who's like in Zumba and I feel weird and everybody's looking at me? Or is it the fact that like people don't understand how fucking wonderful these classes is, right? Like, like hey, there's music, there's fucking, attractive, pretty people everywhere, that like it's community, it's friendship, it's competition, like, like whatever it is that you find to be the most distinctly interesting things about those things, talk about those, right? Write about
Yep.
those. That's going to shape your lens. And then eventually you can start telling jokes about the fucking headlines, right? And you'll nail it because you know precisely who you are, right? So that's my advice there. Cool.
It
How
just goes a height, as they
Wow.
say in improv, the height of your intelligence.
Yeah,
Tell that story, the height of your intelligence, and that's one reason I want to bring it up from me, because if I bring it up from me, it's the height of my intelligence, and I know everything about that.
I love it. Beautiful. Cool. So you mentioned that writing you seem to be holding you back. Is there anything else that it seems like is holding you back? If you could solve a problem with a magic wand, what would that problem be?
Have my online presence, to be
Got it.
able to finally just break in and do it, and just kind of find what I want to do. And because I'm kind of all over the place, and I haven't made a decision of what I want to do and how I want to display myself. And I got on a video over 1.3 million views, and I have nothing online to back it up with.
Where
Even
is
though
that
there's
video and what is that video?
oh, Kill Tony.
Oh, nice, sick. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm on there. I'm not linked to it by name, but I'm on there. But
Okay.
I have no way, if anybody recognizes me or tries to find me, they're going to find a very basic page because I don't have an online presence. And
Cool.
that just could be, I just have trouble writing, and that's almost a mental writing. So actual physical writing and mental writing, it's just something that I'm kind of overcritical of myself. It's not
Okay.
like I can't do it. I'm just very critical of myself of that.
This ad read will end when I'm able to solve this Rubik's Cube. You ready? Ready, set, go. Patreon.com/Noah Chrysler is fueling this entire channel. All of the proceeds right now from Patreon are going directly to the editors of this show to help compensate them for their time.
Fuck. Oh my god.
We are producing 2 shows right now. The main one is called Brain Juice, and the other one you're watching right now, it's called Chasing Dragons. Brain Juice is like a personal memoir podcast, right? It's about stories from my life that were important to me, and it's like a multimedia show. Chasing Dragons is a show about like creative entrepreneurship. It's about the human side of creative entrepreneurship, right? Dealing with like, you know, your own feelings and limiting beliefs as you're trying to go and hunt down entrepreneurial goals. I recently set out a production schedule that we're going to try to hit each week and each month.
It's harder with the light. The light is making the colors bad.
If you choose to support this project, you are helping me try to achieve a lifelong goal of mine. I've wanted to do this since I was 14 years old. I have the receipts. I have been trying to do this my entire life. You have no idea how important your support would be to me. Every dollar that I receive through the Patreon right now goes straight to those editors, and it goes straight to improving these shows. I'm also covering the costs myself and helping pay those people through my bartending tips, but like your support would help me pay them more money and help them so that they don't abandon the project, because I really need their help. What I'm trying to do is achieve like consistency and quality, and I'm trying to make sure that these stories are told with like the quality that they deserve to be told with, and you could directly help me with that. But you're like, Noah, what's in it for me? Good question. You get on this wall. I know there's only Steve up there right now. I need to make the wall of fame. We have about 12 Patreon supporters, and I'm going to put them up there. But you will get your photo on this wall. You'll also receive a phone number that you can text me at quite literally any time. It's a Google Voice number that I personally manage. Within reason, you know, I don't want you to blow me up. And like, if I take a while to respond, you need to understand I'm very busy. But you will get a personal cell phone number that you can text me at. We're also starting to crank out some exclusive Patreon content that's behind the scenes podcasts with like, I have one coming out with me and Oscar. It's an in-depth discussion about business and about my mindset around this business and the business plan that I have for my YouTube channel. And then in the future, I essentially want this community to be like a mastermind group, right? Where we all meet and we help each other out and work towards each other's goals. We share ideas and we share thoughts about like, and potentially resources, trying to help each other accomplish our life goals, right? Because you probably have goals that you're working on in your life that you could use some help on from either myself or somebody potentially in my community, right? So that's kind of what you're joining if you join the Patreon.
Guy in college taught me how to do this. He was really smart. He was kind of mean though. Talking about you, a noob.
Guys, I have no idea if this project will be successful, but I do know that I've been doing this for over a decade, and for one of the first times in my life, I have a very high degree of knowledge and competence when it comes to building stuff like this. I really believe in these skills, right? So if you want to get in on the ground floor before any of this blows up and you want to be one of the founding supporters of this project, now is your chance. Right now, even if you just support me with $5 a month, You have no idea how meaningful that is because it helps me gain momentum, it helps me believe in this project, and it helps me inspire people to continue working on this with me, right? So even if it's $5 a month, that is monumentally important, and I guarantee you, you will receive more value than that $5. I guarantee you. You know, I'm locking down specifically how, but I know that you will.
Racine was cool though. Racine and I were buds.
If you want to support this show, if you want to see where this goes, go to patreon.com/Noah Chrysler. There are 3 tiers of support there. There's a $5 tier, a $15 tier, and a $25 tier. Pay me what you can afford. I don't want you to overextend yourself trying to support this show. And each of the tiers has different perks and stuff, but like honestly, you're welcome into the community like at any price point. So just please come and support us. That would be so wonderful. Your money will go directly to those editors. And at some point it will go to other things like software and stuff, but when we make that change, I will let you know that. Guys, thank you so much for watching this show and supporting this content, and I genuinely could do none of this without you, so thank you so much. Your attention is extremely valuable. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Done. Back to the show, huh?
Okay, I want to talk about this really quick. Then, before we end, I want to talk about your Kill Tony set and some of my observations and things and talk through some of that. And then I want to end by just giving you like 8 pieces of tactical advice that I think you can implement. But first I want to talk about this content creation thing. Okay, that's just kind of an overview of where my thoughts are for the rest of the conversation. Sound good?
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, Matthew, let's say there's a gun to your head. Okay, there's a fucking psycho who, like me, who's like, okay, like you've identified that, like you're just looking around. You've identified that this is your problem. I need to just start something. Let's say you start making content today, right? You have to do it right now, or you're gonna get shot in the head. How do you start making the content? What do you do?
Wow. I mean, it would have to be with music. It would have to be something with music where I'm just being stupid and just, I have a feeling where it's like I'm not speaking to it. I'm more of action rather than speaking into it now, just to get it out there. More of like a shake off, like this is the way I want to do it, where I'm warming up into it. And because I don't know, because if there's a gun against my head, I know what I could do for right now, but I don't want that to define me, or because I know it's going to involve. But I don't know if it's something I can do. But I don't want to do it full time, but I don't want that to be like who I am. So to the point where
you're afraid of being boxed in. I'm the guy who dances with music or something like that.
One of the things that I can possibly do is the kind of humor I want to do, where I take 2 different things that kind of really don't go together and tell my comedy online. Just tell my comedy I use my place, my room as my stage, and tell my comedy how I want it. Practice I'm coming a stand-up comedian. Follow along. I'm going to do my stand-up right here live on my this is my show. Come see me. Come watch me. I don't need to go chase down open mics. I'm going to watch it here.
Yeah.
And maybe
I have my own stage, my own platform. That's awesome.
And write in the comments, what did I do? What was that funny? Was that not funny?
Right.
Critique me and learn from me and give me ideas. And that's what I want. AI, I want social media to guide me, because that's one of my biggest things from Kill Tony is I'm getting this feedback. When a new person starting in stand-up, they're out there going, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I do? I didn't want to do that. I'm like, okay, how can I get stand-up in my blood? I went straight to the top, and they called my bluff, and the universe called my bluff and threw me on stage. And I took it, and I realized it was like, that was the most incredible. I've always said, if you don't fail and learn from your failures, you can't move on. And realizing how much information I got from that show, to the point of how I felt about myself, how I listened to myself, the sound of my voice is just what made me cringe, what made me, then towards the end, they did laugh. It's hard to hear, but they did laugh. And I didn't hear that for almost 4 days. And because it was hard for me to listen, but they laugh. And that's all, because when you get your first laugh, no matter what, it's comedy is no matter what, you get that laugh, and it's just like I tell people, it's gold fever. You get it, and you just can't
Yes.
shake it. You're just like,
And you're
I
like,
want to hear
yes,
that.
give me more. Like, yeah.
One little laugh can take you over the top and make you feel like
Let
you're
me
unstoppable.
jump in with two things quick. Is that okay?
Yep.
Beautiful. First one is I sent you a screen recording of your Kill Tony set, right? Of the excerpt, right?
Okay.
If people the internet has changed. The internet has changed a lot, and it's now about short form content. Okay.
Yep.
Short form content. The shitty part about short form content is that it's the tip of the iceberg, right? And so in order to make really good short form content, you have to have a whole fucking iceberg. Okay.
Yep.
And then people just see the tip of the iceberg out of the water, and they're like, "Oh, that was a fun reel." And it's like, you missed the fucking iceberg, bro. Like the iceberg is here, and you're watching this part, right? So basically, Kill Tony is a giant fucking iceberg, okay, which is wonderful. But you need to show people the right, correct tip of the iceberg, right? By
Oh yeah. Yep.
extracting your set and making it very easily consumable by your audience, right? So I sent you your like, it's like 90 seconds long. You should immediately post that to a platform, okay? And this leads me to my second piece of advice, which is what platform? And basically, gun to your head, right? There's like, you have to pick one. You can't pick all of them. People are like, I'm gonna pick YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all of them. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't have the infrastructure to do that right now, so pick fucking one and don't overcomplicate it. And don't be like, I'm gonna learn iMovie and Premiere and CapCut and all this fucking software and use all of the platform. Like, no, wrong. Pick one platform. Use the tools that that platform offers you to have and master that fucking platform, okay? Get really fucking good, okay? And know everything about it, okay? I personally think that it should be Instagram because I think I don't know what the status of like new people downloading TikTok is. I don't know if that's been approved
Yeah.
or not.
It could be stale right now. And
Exactly. And so I personally think Instagram is probably the way to go, just because it's one of the most popular social media networks in the world, and like it's pretty ubiquitous, right? And whatever, it's a good showcase.
it easy transfer from over to other things. You can take your videos and actually post them everywhere else and everything.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and I do have my personal one that I have right now. There's nothing on it, but I do have one that I created that there's nothing there, that it's 0 followers, 0 following. It's just there ready, which
Yeah.
that's going to be
What is
my
it?
comedy.
What is it?
I'd have to get the name of it. It's a play on 2 words, like improv. I can never say the word, but it's like a juxtaposition or something. That big long word starts with a J and there's an X and E.
Juxtaposition.
Yeah, so it's like a shortened version of that, and the analogous, or I can never say that word either. It's 2 words I can't say, but they're
Analogous.
analogous, but they're both shortened, and it's like a combination of play on both of those words. And just
Juxtapanalogous or something like
yeah,
that?
something
Fantastic.
very. It's just that's my thing. I take 2 things of 2 worlds and mesh them together and create something.
I
And
love that.
then I'll take 2 more things, put them together. Let's tell a story. Let's tell a funny joke. Let's tell funny things about these. These are my little thoughts of nuggets that I'm going to put out onto the little stories I'll tell.
So Matthew, here's my opinion, is that you take that account that you've already created, because in the back of your mind, you've already known that this is what's been happening, right?
Yep.
You're stepping towards your legend, right? Your fucking destiny, right? And you take that and you just embrace being fucking awful, right? Like, because by the
Yep.
way,
Or just be me. That's what I
yeah,
do. That's
yep.
just going to be me.
Yup, and I'm sorry, that's so rude to be like, but like, you know, like bro, I posted, yes, 2 days ago I posted a very raw video of me unboxing, you know, a gift that one of my Patreon supporters got me, you know, and then putting it right there. He got me this very hungry caterpillar, right? That is no editing, right? It's just very raw, and it's like, this is what is meaningful to me right now, right?
Yeah.
Start using Instagram just like that, right? And then there's other people who are going to be like, well, social media addiction is bad. And like, you know, I don't need to share everything from my life because I'm fucking so well adjusted and I don't need validation from anybody. And it's like, look, motherfucker, if that works for you, fucking gold star. Here's your
Yeah.
trophy, okay? But like, I'm trying to build a career, okay? So lick my ass and stop judging me and saying, oh, well, no one needs to post for validation. It's like, yeah, maybe I do a little bit, but like
Oh
also
yeah, yeah.
but like maybe if I can develop the self-awareness that like, I have that mechanism in my brain, like maybe I can do it in a healthy way and I shouldn't let this fear of like being a validation monkey like hold me back
Yeah.
from saying what I got to say.
Well,
So
that's the everything. It's just like, oh, you're working out, you're losing weight. But you're over. I saw you over at McDonald's or Starbucks. Yeah, because I'm treating my fucking self.
right, because I
It's
just
my
you know
enjoyment. I'm gonna
right.
go on social media and post this because it's something I enjoy. If you want to watch me do it, watch me do it. But the whole fact is, you're watching me do this.
Exactly.
So thank you. Keep
I
it
love
coming.
that. I fucking love that. Wonderful. Okay, I think we've talked about potentially two limiting beliefs here, right? We've talked about your limiting belief around writing and about that sort of thing, and how if you could kind of shift that a little bit by focusing on stories that are very important to you, and then applying tactical lessons that you learn from your heroes into writing about those stories. I think that will help you with that writing uh, roadblock. The next one we've talked about is social media and leveraging social media. I think that if you pick one platform, gun to your head, one platform, using only the tools provided by that platform,
Yeah.
because there is a very, very sophisticated content creation mechanism inside of Instagram, and you don't need to complicate anything right now. You need to get simple. Get fucking simple, okay? David Dobrik. David Dobrik is a deeply flawed man who almost killed Jeff Wittick and who also facilitated some really disgusting sexual assault stuff with Dom. And I think that that is detestable and awful. And I think it's a testament to like what unchecked power does. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And so he's a deeply flawed man. That said, I also think he's one of the best editors on all of YouTube and one of the best visual storytellers to ever have walked this earth. Okay. David Dobrik made his career using iMovie, okay? He didn't use Premiere, he didn't use Final Cut, he didn't use fucking Sony Vegas or DaVinci Resolve, he used fucking iMovie because he understood that the only thing I need is the slice tool and music. And that's it. And
Yep.
because he threw away everything else, he was able to fucking like Bro used a fucking hatchet to like, carve like a fucking beautiful sculpture. And it's like, and it worked, okay? So get really simple about the tools, right? You only need a fucking knife, okay? You can chisel the statue of David out of the fucking clay with a fucking pocket knife, bro. So just pick one up, okay? And get rid of all the
Yep.
other ones. You can learn the other ones later after you fucking master Instagram. Um, Cool. So those are the two things that we've talked about. And sorry, I get so passionate about this that I forget what we're actually doing. So
Oh
the
no, because this is your sandbox. I mean, and I completely agree. But I understand when I get on a little tangent too, I'm going to go off, and when I get my thing, so that's what I'm thinking about. My writing is maybe my Instagram account is me actually writing my jokes as I go. This and film my instead of writing and go on stage and open mic, I'm going to write it and I'm going to post it, and then
I
I'm going
love
to
that.
probably because you know how people do like dance songs and they do the same dance song over and over and over again. They keep posting it. Why don't I keep posting my joke every day? I retry it as I'm doing open mics, and as people see it, they're going to start critiquing it. And that way, oh, that was funny, that version right there. I have a recording of it. I can go back. Now I can see how I delivered it. Where I need to work on do I need to put more energy in or pull back? And so now I have a visual, and people are commenting on that too at the exact same time. Instead of going out to open mics, get embarrassed, leave real quick, and you're actually talking to other comedians who technically could say is your competition. They could be jealous of you. I want, like on Kill Tony, I didn't matter about Kill Tony or anything like that. That's not who I'm after. I'm out there to capture who them out there in the audience. That's who I want. I don't care about becoming famous. I just want to connect and resonate with at least one person out there, and because they're there to watch. I want to know what you guys want to see, and not what I want to display. Because if you show me what you want to see, I can start involving into that and using those kind of ideas, because people's things change people's way of it. Look at, like, that's the reason why things are so small, the tip of the iceberg, because we got 15, 30 seconds, this, kill Tony. It's a minute to tell your joke. Everything has just been so put down to get it out there. Show us what you got. It's just like Rick and Morty. Show me what you got. Big head comes down there. Show me what you got. And
Yeah.
I went Swifty. I went Swifty on Kill Tony. I swear to God, I went up there and I was like, "Yeah, I'm
I
Swifty,"
love that.
and I did, and I don't care. And I knew I was gonna
Yeah.
bomb it, but no one can take
Okay.
that away from me now.
Can I help you with
me.
one last thing, Matthew?
Yeah.
I think this is a judgment. This is a judgment. I don't know how to deliver it in a way that's not going to sting.
Oh no,
so
just
let
do
me
it.
know. I think this is a guess and my personal opinion, and maybe I'm wrong. It seems to me like you might be trying to focus on too many things. Okay.
Oh, that is me in a nutshell.
Got it. So it seems like you're doing improv, right? But you also want to do Kill Tony, but you also want to do social media, and you also want to do stand up, and you also in the summary that you sent to me, you also mentioned, like, I also want to, like, use day trading to, like, like, be able to live financially well off, like,
Yep.
to do that and
But
stuff.
that's even more of a long shot than it is doing stand up, which is scary.
Right. And
See,
so
it's easier to
Matthew,
be stand up.
So Matthew, I want to introduce you to a concept called, like, I took a strategy class in college with Professor Clyde Hall. Clyde Hall, if you ever watch this video or this clip, thank you so much for having a career and fucking teaching me things, because I loved your class. And Clyde Hall, okay, this brief story about Clyde Hall. He goes, "Hey guys, does anybody have a project? Like, let's just use an example of, like, how we can apply strategy to a project, and let's make it real." So he calls on me because I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Noah, what do you want to do? What's one thing that you would really want to do?" And I'm like, and it's like, a Thursday, and he
Yeah.
wants me to say something about, like, "Oh, I want to get an A on this fucking project." And I'm like, okay, no, Clyde Hall, in 2 weeks, I want to have a fucking banger party at my house, okay, where hundreds of people show up, have a wonderful time, and they love it, right? And Clyde Hall goes,
Yep.
and he could have said, "Fuck that, we're talking about academia, fuck you." And instead, Clyde Hall goes, "Banger, let's do it," right? And he and he helped me basically, essentially, strategically plan this party to achieve my goals, and the party was fucking bang on, Matthew. It was wonderful, right? And so cool. So the framework that he introduced me to was called the strategy sword diagram. Okay, and if you go and you look this up, you can probably find this somewhere. But basically, the one key takeaway is, like, prioritization. Okay, it's not to say to dismiss those other things, right? But it's to say,
Yep.
the key to strategy is going after what you believe to be the most important, right? It's discerning. Hi, like, I want to have success, right? And that's going to take 10,000 hours, okay? So I need
Oh,
to
yep.
determine which one of these avenues I want to ride to success, right? And it seems to me that, like, that might be stand up or online content creation, right? If you divert your 10,000 hours, because, by the way, we all have limited time on this planet, okay? So, like, there's a finite number of hours in the day. You need to do the work of saying, how am I going to have success? And then you need to cut out all of the other shit, and that's really painful to do. Like, you need to cut out all of the fucking day trading shit, which, by the way, is a judgment, and maybe that's threatening to you and you don't want to do that. But, like,
Oh no, that's more of a dream that's even harder to get into. So that's just something, like, that'd be cool to do.
and someday, Matthew, if you make $1 million in stand-up, someday you will be able to go and make
Oh
your
yeah.
next million in day trading, right? But so, like, I don't know. Also, with this, there's risk. Like, you need to understand that and you do understand, but, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's huge risk. And to be honest with you, Matthew, and this stings too, I believe in you like crazy, but like the entertainment industry is the most competitive business that you could possibly get involved in. Like
Oh yeah,
it is the most competitive, right? So
and
the
they've probably seen 30 of me.
right. The chances that you will ever make $1 million doing this might be very, very, very low, right? Like,
Mhm.
and you need to be fully cognizant of that. But I personally still believe that it's still the most noble pursuit a person can do with their lives, right?
Oh
Because
yep.
like,
And it is still a lottery, and it's just like, and like I was talking to a couple comedians downtown when I told them I was here one time. I got on, and they were talking about something else, and I was just like, they're like, I guess it's the luck of the draw. I was like, well, let me tell you a story how I won $1,000 last month on in the lottery, and they're like, you're a little lucky. I was like, yeah, because it's like I could go down there and talk to them and say, I'm not signing up. I just want to talk about uh, stand up, and it's just like, but you guys better talk to me, because if you don't, I'm going to go sign up, and I guarantee you I'm going to get on for the second time if I go sign up. So I'm going to threaten them and go, guys, teach me how to do this or I'll go on your show again. Because you know
yeah.
I will, because don't mess with an improver, because we figure out how to get out of things.
Yes, and bitch, let's go. Like I love that. Yeah. So Matthew, to boil down and slam home my point, it's just like cut out the shit, prioritize, right? Do
Yep.
do two things, like max, right? Hey, I'm gonna just study stand-up and I'm gonna post online content to fuel my study of stand-up, right? And then I'm
Yep.
gonna go to as many open mics as possible, right? And I'm gonna become stand-up professor. I'm gonna become Professor Matthew Jordan of stand-up comedy, right? And here's my special sauce. And I'm not just a professor, I'm also the man in the arena, right? I am both the
Yep.
professor and the fucking like fighter in the ring, right? Like, so do that. Cool. Okay. If you're with me right now, I want to just bang out 8 of my philosophies and pieces of wisdom about stand-up comedy. Is that cool with you?
Yep. Go ahead.
Beautiful. First one, stand up is about hours invested. It's not about talent or validation, right? Like analyze your fears around why you might be on that stage, right? Like your fears that drove you to go and do that. Who told you that you weren't good enough, right? And try to understand them and try to understand why they might have told you that. Because if you can get past that validation seeking and you can understand yourself, you will be a goddamn force in nature, buddy.
Yep.
Cool. The second one, fear and love are the 2 main motivators, right? Like understand yourself, understand what you love about it, understand what you're fearing, right? Because there's multiple reasons why we do stuff, and it's usually based in love and fear. The next one, the skyscraper mindset. Lay a foundation before trying to go big. It's about how many hours invested total over the course of your life. It is not about how many hours you can invest this week. You can do 100 hours of work this week, and I know I can do that because I have done that. But but it's not about what you can do this week. It's about what you can do over 10 years. Okay, so build a skyscraper, right? Change your focus to long-term action, and then prioritize your priorities in accordance to that. 4, you need to record every set. If you're not watching, you're not learning. You record every single time that you go on a stage and fucking post it, because there's a fear mechanism and a judgment mechanism in your brain, right? People learn through cognitive dissonance and fear. At least that's true for
Yep.
me, right? Like fear of judgment, okay? If you go on stage, post your fucking set to Instagram and have people rip you the fuck apart, because if you're serious about getting better, that fear and that horrible bullying will make you fucking be like, okay, motherfuckers, ready? Let's go. Like,
Yep.
now that said, like, that can be brutal. Okay, so take care of yourself, and
Oh yeah.
self-care is very important. Okay, and don't just subject yourself to whipping without intentionally doing so. Okay, like take care of yourself, continue to do Zumba, surround yourself with friends that love you, right, and
Yep.
encourage you, because this is fucking excruciating. Cognitive dissonance is excruciating, but it's also beautiful. Cool. 5, prioritize reps over perfection. Bombing is a requirement, not a failure. Bombing is a requirement. There are 2
I'm
celebrities.
kind of firsthand aware of that.
Fuck yeah. Can I tell you a brief story just because I love this topic and it's very important to me? Brief story on this. Is that cool?
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. When I was in college, I got the opportunity to ask John Mulaney and Nick Kroll a question at the end of their set.
I love you guys. Anyway, oh, thank you. That's crazy. Somebody with a Netflix special just told me they love me. Anyway, Nick, you were talking about how you were bombing. I don't know. One of you guys said that you were bombing, right? So I want to ask about that, right? So like, how was your start, right? Because I feel like that's gotta be rough. So did you guys always start funny, or did you just start? I always felt funny.
I just watched these men destroy our campus. Okay, like 2,000 people in the audience. Okay, and they brought the goddamn house down. Okay, like fucking crush, bro, crush. Because it's John Mulaney and Nick Kroll, two fucking legends. Okay, and they're dialed in, bro. This is before John Mulaney's like, drug arc. Or I mean, probably maybe during it, but like it was during Too Much Tuna. They're like it was like post that. I don't know. Sorry, I'm a big fan of those two. But so I asked them a question and I go, it was about bombing, right? And towards the end, and I have a video of this, but it's not in the video, but towards the end, I believe John Mulaney told me something like, hey man, rejection feels better than regret, right? Like rejection feels better than regret. If you
True.
don't do it, then you will regret it, and that will haunt you, and you will die thinking, fuck, maybe if I like did it, then maybe I could have made it, right? So I don't know. That to me was a very succinct and powerful thing told me by somebody who's a goddamn rock star. Okay. So
Oh yeah, it is because it's like I did it now. That is me. That you can't hide from something. I can't hide from what I did, and so you have to embrace it. When you embrace it, it starts feeling good. It's just like, yeah,
fuck yeah.
and because like I tell people, when you bomb on stage or you do good on stage, you're gonna release the same endorphins. It's how you react to those endorphins. If you act negatively, it's gonna haunt you. If you positively, you're gonna be like, oh, and you can learn from it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I could have did this a little bit better. My timing, this, that. I should have. I need to cut that a little bit shorter, or I should stretch that out right there. And and if you don't look at it positively, you'll never learn. You'll never understand what you're missing or what you did wrong.
Matthew, that's an incredible amount of wisdom, and I think that that's fascinating, and I think that you're totally right. The framing, the story around bombing, right? That's what's important.
Yeah.
Right? Am I a valiant knight who just went and got his ass kicked in a battle, or am I some fragile person made out of glass who, when people throw stones at me, part of me breaks off and shatters and I become beaten down, right? Like those are two different stories with the same narrative event, but one makes you want to fucking get back up and fight, and the other one makes you want to crawl into a hole and fucking die, right? So
or those guys that take a football and they throw it like across the whole entire field into a trash can. How many times have you done that? I want to see when you did it your first time.
right.
How close did you come?
Right.
I don't want to see your end game. I want to see your beginning game.
Hi, my name's Noah Chrysler, and this is my YouTube channel. I'm really excited about it.
That's where I'll show you my beginning game. I don't care about my end game. That's going to happen, and that's going to be beautiful. But I'm here to show you my beginning game. And that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes it funny too, because it's like I'm not this superhuman guy. I'm followable, but watch me grow and learn and follow along and learn for yourself, because a lot of times you have to find a path that works for you, and everybody's looking for something, and everybody's trying, and not every path is perfect for everybody. So I hope I can put a path out there that somebody realizes, like, I resonate with that. Thank you for putting that out there. Like you said, any person can put it out there, and it's going to help one person. It's all that matters, because everybody's searching for a way. And if you resonate with somebody to move somebody forward to get where they are, that's all its life is about. Because that's all people do is search for, I want to be somebody, do something, but they don't feel like no one's helping them or pushing them or behind them. And it gets scared all by yourself. But then you just get that one little nudge from somebody, and you're just like, hey, thanks. And a lot of people are normally introverts. And when you're an introvert, it's hard to be an extrovert. And I'm an introvert learning to be an extrovert. And it's hard for me because But I enjoy those, not the validation of being on the stage like, yeah, I did it, but that validation of that one person going, hey, you can do that, you know? And I was like, I know I can, but thank you. That was huge what you just said there, that little nudge. And it's just,
I love that.
and it's just one person that you can be sitting on at a table, you don't even know each other, and you just happen to get in a conversation and they say that, and it's like, that is why I do what I do, because of they, and then you see the spark in their eyes and they're like, yeah, I think I'm going to try this and do that. And I just like to inspire people, because that's the way my son was. He loved to inspire people. And my oldest son is just, I want him to be inspired too and run with it. And I'm learning from him. I'm learning what inspires him. And it's exciting, because I don't want to push it. I don't want to jump into it, but I just love learning about it. And if I can push from a distance without him knowing, I can do that little push. Like, you can do it. And I know it fulfills him just as much as it fulfills me. And those are the moments that I enjoy. I don't want that grandeur of like, yeah, I made it, I'm a superstar. I'm just like, I'm Matthew, and this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm ending up, and this is where I'm going. Because
Fuck
I
yeah.
don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it.
Hell yeah. I love that. I have 3 more little bullets here, but Matthew, I love that self-awareness that, like, you know why you're doing this. That's amazing. I would even say try to enhance that understanding more, right? Like, try to enhance that, and then surround yourself with evidence of, like, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this, Matthew. This is why I'm doing this, right? Like, this is like these right
I think
here.
I'm right.
Like you need that, right?
Yep.
Remind yourself of, like, this is why, right? And then that will stop you from, like, getting off the path of, like, maybe I should do day trading. No. I will not ever gonna do day trading. I want to make Steve
Oh no.
happy.
Oh yeah.
I want to make stuff for Steve where he's like, whoa, like. So, cool. Here we go. 3 things here. Don't chase viral moments. Build for the long term. We've already talked about that. Lay a skyscraper. Don't fucking build a teepee. Don't make your house out of twigs and hay. Make your house like the 3 Little Pigs, because there's a wolf coming.
Yep.
Make it out of fucking bricks, dude. It doesn't matter. It's gonna take longer. It's a fucking pain in the dick, but make it out of bricks, bro. Your comedy identity comes from reps, not overthinking. Overthinking is the death of this, right? There's the pottery class.
Yep.
I sent you a parable about the pottery class, right? But basically, like, there's 2 pottery classes. One for the semester, the professor says, hey, make the perfect pot. Just give me 1 perfect pot. Then he says the other class, hey, just make as many goddamn pots as you possibly can, right? And by the time the end of the semester came around, the pottery class that made the most pots, every pot was better, and the overall quality was way better, right? Because they became masters in making pots, right? So do that. Don't make 1 perfect thing. Fuck it. Like, here we go. Like, yeah. Cool. Comes from reps. Figure out how to practice by yourself, right? I love the idea of practicing live and getting feedback on Instagram. I think that's fucking beautiful. Other ways you can do that, though, sometimes, Matthew, that requires a lot of courage, and that courage will fucking, like, that can be paralyzing, okay? So one thing that you can do to practice by yourself is put up your phone and record just for you. Just for you, buddy. Record it and then watch it back, because your brain, you are part performer, but you're also the director and the feedback and the audience, okay? You're a psychologist and a coach for yourself, right? Watch your setback and take notes on it. Hey, it seems like my timing around this thing was bad. It seems like this could be tighter. It seems like this idea, there's too many ideas here. It could be simpler.
Yep.
Learn how to do push-ups at home, right? Like metaphorical ones, right? And if you can do 1,000 push-ups like Rock Lee, right? Rock Lee has those fucking, this is Naruto. You probably haven't seen it. It's a great show. But he has these ankle weights and he wears them all the time. And because he has them, his legs become extremely strong and he develops super speed, even though he doesn't really have any other powers. Never mind. Rock Lee's a great character. I love him. It's horrible what happened to him. Very tragic. I haven't made it all the way through Naruto, though. Cool. Stand-up is an endurance sport. Longevity is the real game. Basically, the more you understand that, and the more you make decisions that support that and facilitate that, the more you will improve. Cool. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Is there anything that you would like to plug? You need to send me your Instagram on, text me your Instagram handle. We'll do a plug for that.
Yep.
By the time this goes up, this might go up in a couple days. By the time this goes up, I hope that you post something to that. Post your Kill Tony set to that, man.
Yes, I will.
You
But
have
one of my
really-
biggest things is I understand it is because I bake bread. So comparing the bread when I first made the bread to the bread I make now, I learned so much, and there was so much I had to add to it to create a sourdough bread. And it took me hours and hours of making croutons because the bread failed. And that's how I'm going to live my life, just over and over. I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail. And because at one point you become jaded to failing. And when you become jaded to failing, it doesn't scare you anymore. And that's when you start winning, when you come jaded to fail. And that's one of my biggest fears of comedy, is become jaded, but only become jaded to bombing or doing terrible, because that's when you understand yourself, and that's when you reach for the stars and you go for it, because you don't have to. You've done it all. You've done the failing. You've done the bits where it didn't work, or jokes that didn't work, and now you've refined it, and now it's time to launch and go into.
Matthew, can I give you one last piece of insight, basically just like as a reaction to that? Or well, there's two things really. The first one is like make content, post to your Instagram about baking bread, and make comedy about that, because that's fucking really cool. A stand-up comedian who bakes bread and knows a lot about sourdough is really cool. So fucking do as much of that as you can.
I could be like the French chef on the Muppet.
Exactly. That'd be wonderful. So do that. And then the other thing is like, don't be paralyzed of the fear of bombing, right? Which I think it sounds like you're not, but like I think also like there is a little bit of a fear, right? One of my heroes that I look up to that has a lot to say about those things is Norm Macdonald. I believe that Norm Macdonald, not much of his stuff is like super, okay, people don't like this take, but like I don't think he's the best writer. I don't think he's like the funniest person in the room, but I think that man has more stones than anyone I've ever seen. And he'll say some crazy shit. He has an autobiography called Based on a True Story. And there's an entire chapter in that book that is all fabricated, right? Where he goes to prison and he talks about being like sexually assaulted in prison, right? And then he talks about, well, I had to be top dog, so I had to sexually assault other people in order to be top dog. And it's in his fucking autobiography.
Yeah.
Which is insane, right? It's insane. And it's like, dude, what if somebody thought that was real, right? Because some people are not going to understand that this is a bit.
Yeah.
And he's not letting that stop him, right? He understands that like not everybody's gonna get this, right? And he's gonna bomb potentially with some.
Oh yeah.
But he's gonna take the risk.
And he has, and and he took the risk. I mean, to the point where people just look at him and say, "Please don't make me laugh at that. Please don't make me." And they know they're gonna laugh at it, and they know what's coming. But it's like, please stop. And it's like he knows how to drag them, and that's almost like a kind of a Larry David kind of thing, because you feel the jokes, because sometimes it's like, oh my God, how did he make me feel so uncomfortable with that joke? And I'm watching the show, I'm like, wow, that is intense. When you can do that, it's just like, wow, that really reached out and went, hey.
Exactly. Yeah.
I felt that. And that's like pure genius. And it's like that's something that it's hard to do.
Yeah.
And so
I love it. Cool. So Matthew, people can go follow you at Juxtanalogous, something like that.
I'll send you right now. It's 77_TOO_73.
Got it.
So those are my football jerseys when I played football and offensive line.
Yeah, dude.
So that's another thing I got to work on. I played football for 10 years too. So there's been a lot of hits to the head.
Dude, use that in your writing. Use that in your comedy. That's wonderful. Cool. Okay, do you mind if I go on a little bit of a rant doing a plug for kind of what I'm building and kind of what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Beautiful. Cool. I am building my personal brand. I'm trying to right now, that's a few different things that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do more coaching calls like this. Chasing Dragons might be the name of this show, but I don't know if that's what it is. So I'm trying to do more of this because I found that I fucking like this is my favorite. Like, meeting somebody with a half-baked plan who's struggling. Like, I love that so much because I have so much respect for those people and I want to talk to them as many as possible and fucking help them like figure some shit out, right? That's so exciting to me. So that's a big part of what I'm trying to do. I'm also trying to continue my podcast, Brain Juice, where I reflect on my life and I basically talk about, like, I try to develop wisdom about the experiences that I've gone through and like things that I might have fucked up and ways that I could do it better in the future, right? So that's what I also will continue want to do. I want to host a show called Talk It Out, where basically we sit down with two people who have real problems, like real interpersonal, like conflict, and just trying to understand both sides of the situation and trying to like understand where each person's coming from, and then seeing if we can align on anything, right? Seeing if we can just improve it maybe 5%, right? Like, and so like that's another project. And then eventually someday I'm going to write a book, and that's called The Elephant Method, which is basically about trying to develop wisdom by gaining more insight and trying to get out of your own head and your own narrative and see more of the big picture, to make yourself more effective in the world. That's one thing I'm also working on. And then eventually I'll do live shows, stand-up sets, and that sort of thing, and other merch and that sort of thing. If you want to support me, you can go to patreon.com/Noah Chrysler. Matthew, if you have the means at all, one mistake that I have made in the past is I haven't asked people for support. Even $5 on Patreon helps me an incredible amount, not because of the $5, but because of the momentum. This is a train, and I need to fucking push the train with my whole soul. So like, and asking for help is a part of getting that train to move faster. So even $5, dude, it's okay if you can't or don't want to. I understand that. But you, as well as anybody else who watches this, if anything I've said has helped you at all in any way, shape, or form, it would really, truly mean a lot to me. And I know that we're strangers, but it would mean a lot to me if you could go and support on Patreon, because that money right now goes towards paying collaborators, paying editors who help me kind of add some polish to these raw thoughts, right? Because like I just want to make a system that churns out my brain, right? And so, but it's nice when that is a little polished, right? I don't have all of the money in the world, so I can't fully pay those people probably what they should be paid, right? But they know that, and they're willing to grind a little bit at the beginning right now, which is wonderful. But if you want to support that, that'd be really cool.
Yep.
Another
There's
last
one way to
thing.
make that. Oh,
What?
not to let you. Once you get to the point of that asking for that Patreon, you should be able to edit in there, reach up behind you, grab those sunglasses, and then put them on there. And like
I love
that's what you should just go reach up, grab them, and put them on there. And go dun dun dun. Dun.
Oh, I could do that myself. I think that's really cool. I just need
So
the.
when you ask for a Patreon for that, that's how you do it. Just grab there and put it on there and say.
That's sick.
Then
That's
move
so
on.
cool. I need the nice stat glasses, man. That's fucking cool. I should make some of those. That'd be a really
Yeah.
fun video. That'd
So
be
they just make yourself. Yeah, I did ask for it, and I'm there. You go.
hell yeah. Yeah, man, cool. Thank you so much, Matthew, for this conversation and for
Thank you for
sharing so
having
much
me.